Hey, good morning. I was just getting ready to go live for a minute and talk to you, and then I realized that I really should put this computer up a little bit more like that. Well, today's topic is, can you be a minimalist? And that sounds like a great idea, right? But can you actually do it? For me, I started out with 3 sofas and a whole lot of other stuff that really didn't have anything to do with how I wanted to change my lifestyle, because what we do is more about lifestyle than it is about anything else. Nothing else compares. It's our lifestyle. That's how we want to live. If you see right here, and this backwards every time. If you see right here, I have too many hats, as you can see, and that's not all of them. So even trying to be a minimalist, and I consider myself to be a minimalist, I still have to fight with myself in order to not accumulate more things than I need to. This morning, I am defrosting the refrigerator. Now, I lived for a lot of years without having to defrost a refrigerator because I always had self defrosting refrigerators. But when you become a minimalist, that means to me, that means you don't have nearly as many conveniences as you once had. And I have learned that that is absolutely true because I am defrosting my refrigerator today. I didn't realize it took so long either. It was really bad. It was really bad. Anyway, so to become a minimalist, really what you have to do, and you need to become a minimalist if you're going to live in a van. There's just no question about it. I don't even have a storage unit. I have gotten rid of just about everything except my hats and some shoes. But it's harder than you might think. I did find out, however, when I started downsizing and getting rid of all the stuff that I had so that I could move into my van, once you get started, it's easier than you might think. You know, I had the 3 sofas I always talk about. Once I started getting rid of them, then the end tables came, and then the lamps and all of the things that I really didn't need anymore because, well, I don't have room for 3 sofas. I don't even have room for a lamp in here. So I had to get rid of everything. And once you, like I say, once you start, it is so freeing. It really is to get rid of, to let go of that part of your life, to let go of that lifestyle and all the things that you have in it. Here comes my puppy. I mean, I don't want to be defined as someone who has 3 sofas. I want to be defined as someone who enjoys their life, has a lifestyle that I can be proud of. I spent way too much money on too many stupid things, and then I had to get rid of them. And of course, I lost a lot of money on that. Obviously, you know you don't get retail for used sofas, even though we really never used them because 2 people, 3 sofas. I mean, really, come on, give me a break. But I like to compare being a minimalist with food. Our bodies only need a certain amount of calories every day in order to function. When we overeat, we are putting into our bodies more than we need to. And to become a minimalist, compare that to not eating any more calories than you actually need. And when you live in a van, you have to have just the things that you need. No fluff, no extra fat, no munchies. Now, people always say things like, well, what about, my memorabilia, my grandmother's sofa, I mean, not sofa, my grandmother's you know, uh, desk. That's what I'm trying to spit out here. My grandmother's desk. What am I going to do with that? What about all of my keepsakes, the things that we've gathered over the years that are, are when our kids graduated from kindergarten all the way up to college, or maybe somewhere in the middle there. But we all do have keepsakes, things that we don't really want to get rid of, even though I have to say, in the grand scheme of things, do you actually have things from your great, great, great grandparents? You know, probably not. But what I did in that case, and I didn't have a whole lot because I just didn't. Um, I gave them to to my daughter and my grandkids. So now they are where they really should be anyway, because the memorabilia, the keepsakes should be passed on from generation to generation. I mean, why else do you have them, right? So I gave them to my daughter and my granddaughter, and that's where they are. If I ever want to look at them, and I do sometimes, and see them, I can. Now, I will say that I do still have here some rings that belong to my grandmother. They don't take up very much room, but it kind of reminds me of her often, and I miss my grandma. Big Grammy, we called her. Everything else went to my daughter and my granddaughter. So now I have gotten rid of my sofas, my end tables, and I have to tell you that I had 22 pieces of Aztec furniture that I bought in New Mexico. I had them shipped to Florida, and then I turned around and had them shipped back to Texas when I moved there. I loved, loved, loved that furniture. Beautiful furniture. And so I had to get rid of those. That was hard. But I did. And everybody wanted them. They were easy to sell. And I didn't lose money on them either because they were easy to sell. And I mean, I even traded some with my accountant. She did my taxes. I traded some furniture. Those were the hard ones. And I gave a couple of pieces to my daughter, which we in turn ended up eventually selling because they didn't really go with her decor. But that was the hardest part. Now, I also had a ton of clothes. If you're in that same situation and you have a ton of clothes, you have things that you really need to get rid of, start in your closet. And if you haven't worn it for 5 years, immediately it's gone. Immediately. That's it. And then you can you can do from there forward. So clothes weren't too hard. I will say though, when I got ready to move into my van, I carried what I thought was going to be the only clothes I needed. And when I got them out here, I'm like, where am I going to put them? There's no place. I mean, I don't need 22 pair of jeans. So, well, that was furniture, but I had a lot of jeans too. So I had to, save my favorites, 3 or 4, which has gone down over the years. I don't need that many pair of jeans anymore. So I got rid of those, or started to. And, but I don't know, if any women on here, any women, raise your hand. Shoes. I had so many shoes. I had cowboy boots, several pairs. I had the, what I call the cheater. They look like cowboy boots, but they're slides. I had so many of those. I had hats. I had, that lifestyle, the Western lifestyle, if you want to say that. I used to do a lot of line dancing, and so I had a lot of that stuff, and I had to make choices. Which ones do I want, and which ones can I live without? And that's really what it's all about. Which ones can you live without? Did you want to get up, baby? Can you want to say hi to my dog? Come here, baby. He doesn't like it when I'm up here talking to people and he's not involved. This is Matrix. Say hello. This is Matrix. He is a year and a half old, and I've always had dogs since I lived in my van. And he's a Cavalier. I've always had Cavaliers. They've been, I've taken in seniors, And I just couldn't do that anymore. The end of life is just too hard. And so right now I have a puppy, and I've never had one before. And so we're learning to love each other, right? But I won't get rid of my puppy. I'll be a minimalist, but I won't be getting rid of my puppy. And if you look all around, if you came in here and looked all around, you're going to see that there's so many things in here that belong to him more than belong to me. All right, get down. Yeah. Anyway, so I did all of that. I sold things on Facebook Marketplace. I was not really in a position to have a yard sale where I was living. So it was Facebook Marketplace mostly. And then you get to a place where you have a bag. You're selling a whole bag of clothes for $5. Once you get it going, it's a lot easier. And then you only get to keep your favorite things. And again, it's the whole calorie thing. Your body only needs so many calories a day. And so you only need so many things to live in a van. I have to go to the laundromat. So my jeans get worn 5, 6 times. I'm sorry, but they do. So I don't really need that many pairs, right? So downsizing and decluttering and getting rid of all the stuff I had to do it in stages, because if I had gone right in and said, okay, everything's going, no, I just couldn't quite do that. I couldn't let go of everything that fast. So I did it in stages, and until I got to where I could actually get everything that I absolutely wanted into my van. Like I say, no storage unit, nothing. And gave my daughter the things I wanted, the keepsakes. Oh, I will say, I have a collection of Louis L'Amour books. I don't know if you've ever read his books. I love Louis L'Amour and all his Westerns. And I have a collection of those that my dad and I collected over the years. And of course, I don't have room for them in here. So I do have those at my original son-in-law's house. He has a lot of storage there. So I saved those books. So I don't want to lie. Okay. And what happens is every time I go back to Amarillo, I go to his house and I switch out some of the books because I read them and then take them back. I've read them all 100 times anyways. I could probably quote most of them. What do you want now? So as I say, what I'm doing today in my minimalist lifestyle house is I'm defrosting my refrigerator, which is something that I haven't done for a lot of years because I've always lived in a place with a self-defrosting refrigerator. How about you? And I learn more and more every day. I mean, I still sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace right now as I go travel from town to town because I gather stuff. I love to thrift. So I kind of make that into a little business because I get stuff cheap and I might use it for a while and then sell it on Facebook Marketplace and get my money back. But I still have to be a minimalist. And if you're going to live in a van, you have to too. There's just no question about it. Unless you want to pull a trailer with all your stuff in it. And that really kind of defeats the purpose, don't you think? Yeah. Let's be minimalist. That's the subject for today. How to be a minimalist. And I promise that I'll get rid of all my hats or some of them before the next time I go on here. So I don't really look like I love all my hats. This one I got in Quartzsite, Arizona. Or if you live in a van, you're going to want to go there. Got this one down in Big Bend in South Texas. My grandson gave me this cowboy hat here. It's a felt beaver hat. Yeah, anyway, I love my hats. In the description below, you'll find a link down there for to book a one-on-one strategy session with me in order to figure out where you are in your life right now and in your dream of becoming a van lifer, and by changing your entire lifestyle to become a minimalist and live on the road and just have a lot of fun. So you can book the session in the description down there below. And if you have any questions, always contact me. Feel free, chat. because the chat's still here, and I'll see those comments after I get off here. So anyway, thank you so much. Minimalist. Can you really do it? Anyway, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.